Welcome back to another episode of the Career Evolved podcast. And today I brought to the table an absolute beast executive, Dennis Garza, and he's been a complete rock star in our community because not only every time I talk to Dennis, he's on another level. More scale, more intensity, more going on, more growth in his career. While he was in our Career Evolve method process, he got multiple VP offers, all from his outreach and his process. And so it's like he's done this in the toughest job market in the last decade. I had to bring him to the table to share his story. So, Dennis, thank you so much for making the time.
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me, Liv. Happy to be here. Happy to give back to the community as well.
Fantastic. So, here's the deal. You made it happen, multiple executive offers. You did it fast. Like I think your results are really abnormal. I want to just say out the gate because you're an A+ player, but what do you think is what separates the folks that are getting results from those that aren't, from your perspective?
Super good question. I think it's a tougher one to answer only because I don't know those individuals, personally, haven't forged a relationship with them. But what I can tell you anecdotally or in generalizing, the ones that are getting it done and seeing the results are the ones that like want it bad enough that they can taste it, that they bring it into reality, and then aren't scared to do the work that it takes to get there. The other folks, right? Oh, I really want it and I could see it and I'll do the work and they lose that consistency piece that's so important. And I would almost say like that they lose their conviction and then they maybe start to have doubts in the process and then let it fall by the wayside.
So I'm just thinking about like when I first met you and where you are now. I just feel like you've been on this rapid evolution and you're just on this crazy climb. And I just am curious, like, as this new modern age executive that drives revenue, like what's what do you think is making the difference that's creating where all these people want you? You created a bidding war, right, in the worst job market. Obviously, I know you use the career evolve method, but tell me, like, what was your secret sauce?
So I knew it was time for a big change, right? I did nothing but, win in my previous career, even did, industry changes, right? I went from the telecom world where I was winning into, the trades, running, an HVAC company, quadrupled that space, and then more or less had a ceiling. And I felt like I was being held back. So when I made the decision that it was time to take that next step, hit the next level, start a new chapter, it wasn't a matter of if, it was just a matter of when for me. It is that conviction piece, right? And I was fully committed to doing what I needed to do to make it happen. And the reason why I came to you, Liv, and the coaches over at Career Vault is because it'd been such a long time since I'd actually had to like go out on my own in a job market. Usually I was able to get, tapped on the shoulder. Hey, let's, come up to the next level with us. That I didn't know what I didn't know, and so I just needed to go through the rebranding, if you will, to brand myself as a premium product, and then start advertising and marketing myself as such, to connect with the players that can make those decisions to get me, to the role where I could best impact the company and then also achieve my goals, for my career.
Yeah, I feel like once you stepped into your power, you just took off, and I wasn't surprised. I knew you were gonna get multiple offers right when I met you. It was just the energy you bring. But, like, even just looking at you, you've got this crazy, like, bloodbath of a painting behind you, and when you came to the Career Evolved, group session, you said to the group, "If you don't feel like you're being hit in the head by a 2 by 4 at the end of the day, you're not going hard enough." Tell me about this mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I've got a rather large organization where I'm at currently. I mean, I've got, 60 folks directly under my banner and my division, which is HVAC operations. And that includes installers, that includes service guys, and that includes direct sales folks. And every one of those folks needs like the nurturing, needs the development, needs to feel like they're cared and valued, as employees. That's the kind of leader that I am, in my organizations, people centric, if you will, and then operations will fall in line. And I built processes around that. But that piece, leading in that way, takes a tremendous toll on you, right? So sometimes when I get home, I don't have a lot left in the tank to give to the family, but it's okay because we all sat down together and came to the determination like, hey, right now, this grind time, because we've got places that we got to get to. And so what I mean by, man, if you're at the end of the day, you don't feel like you've been hitting the two by four, or you don't feel like you've left everything on the table, what are you doing? What are you working towards? Right? Why are you there? Is it just to collect a paycheck? Because that's not a way to continue exponentially growing your career.
Exactly, and, it's as I'm wa if those of you who aren't seeing this on video, Dennis is walking on a treadmill right now as you're talking to me, and even when I met you, you were doing that, so, I'm curious, like, why do you do that? Is that kind of part of your high performance habit? Tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm gonna throw out a bunch of different expressions that I've collected throughout my life and my career, right? One of them is an object in motion stays in motion. So for me, being able to walk, talk, it does put me in a place of power, right? Where I can think better, I can operate better. Those neural synapses are firing more strongly, right? There's actually scientific data around that, but I do my best work here because of it as well. And so I feel comfortable. Yeah, I've done it for so many years now. I feel comfortable walking, but it also helps me perform, helps me like zone into the task because I'm like, I got like some adult ADD, ADHD, type of stuff going on. So this helps me lock in and then, achieve kind of that next level.
I love that. I think mind body connection is real. And, when you have to drive revenue, drive results, you need a lot of energy to do that. So we talk about this a lot at Career Evolved, and I'm a huge proponent of energy. So a couple weeks ago, I was talking to another head of sales type of guy like you, and he's like, I know in 30 seconds if I'm going to hire someone. I just know. And so tell me, is it like that for you too?
It's somewhat like that for me. Now, keep in mind, right? Like, I'm not just hiring salespeople. Um, and if anything, I actually like to hire folks that don't have experience in my industry and then train them if they have the right soft skills. And so when I'm talking to those types of folks, kind of like my career upbringing, if you will, that can kind of really resonate with them very quickly. That's where I think, I can tell in a very short period of time, but keep in mind, I'm hiring installers, right? Which I've never done. I've never been an HVAC installer or plumbing installer, right? I'm hiring service technicians, which I've never been as well. And so in those interviews, right, I like to take my time. I like to really assess. And really what I'm gauging for is like what it is that they're going to bring to the table from an energy standpoint and from a mindset and an attitude standpoint. Because I literally have extended offers to people who are completely green. And we have trained, like developed a training program called FST, Field Success Trainers. I have two FST guys that I've installed since coming here. And we've got content that we train in house and you're creating some serious monsters out there, from scratch, from nothing, basically.
Wow.
As long as they have the right soft skills and the right mindset to come and want to grow and want to kill it. So those take a little longer.
Well, that's fantastic. Thinking through just your journey, right? And you think about this market and you came in and it was overwhelming, right? Like, and so part of you could have just stayed where you were and settle because you had a job, but you chose to enter this market. So you were legitimately a beast, right? To make that decision. Why didn't you just stay where you were? What got you to enter the arena?
Well, I mean, I had already chosen to stay, right? Maybe 2 years before my ultimate departure from my previous company, where I was a director of sales and marketing. I chose to stay, stick it out, and see kind of what the landscape would look like for me and the company. Because candidly, I'd come into that organization that was running it. exponentially, like 4x grew it, in a very short period of time, in about 3.5 years. Then the owner, who is an in-field employee, like, grew up being a technician, grew up, interfacing with customers, decided, "Okay, now it's time for me to come in, step in, and I'm gonna run the company." And initially, I was like, a little excited potentially, to see kind of where we could the new heights we would be able to reach. Gave it the shot and realized, like, "Man, this is not the right direction for multiple different reasons." And so that's where I decided I gave it the college try. I stuck it out, right? Um, Persistent, and then realized, like, there's just nowhere and no reason for me to stay. So that's where I entered back into the job market.
I think honestly, you're one of the most authentic executives I know, and that's why we keep bringing you back to the community because you're just so real and raw, and it really resonates with people because, everybody's kind of trying to sugarcoat things, and you're just really to the point. So I want to ask you, you know, if you think about like the typical executive that does a job search, they do the job boards, the recruiter, and all of that. For you, you took ownership through this process and did outreach to CEOs, and you built a pipeline, and you treated it like a business. That's not how most executives think about their careers, so you're already kind of on that cutting edge of mastering your own career and driving that path forward. Like, what do you think and, like, when did you make that switch with this process and kinda I'm sure you get people all the time coming to you asking for help for jobs and stuff like that, but what is your mindset when it comes to your career and how to manage that?
Yeah, interesting you say it because I have 3 texts on my phone for people, and I've already engaged in making connections for them. So, yes, that does happen, and it happens quite frequently. Um, I even have folks from other departments within the organization on multiple occasions like, "We would love to be on your team and your managers, like, your, management team's team, like a team HVAC, if you will," which is great, right? I mean, I think that's, super resounding there, on the kind of work that you're doing to impact other people's lives. So, in terms of me, I will say that I haven't sourced a job conventionally since, like, 2008, and it's still the case, and I'm not a conventional person, so conventionality has never worked for me, and so I had to treat things different, including my job search, right? So, going through the CE process, doing all the work, my validation statement, being able to package that briefly, to the C-suite, to be able to show what kind of value I bring to the table, and then, you know, move on, to position that value piece, right? I still, even in this role and these other roles that I source, hasn't been traditionally sourced roles. So just for me, it made a fit. Like, it was a fit to how I think and how I approach problem solving, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Okay, fantastic. I think it's just really a lot of people are struggling to evolve with the market, and it's just, the bottom line is like if you are
Well, like, if you want a normal job, then go find a job the normal way. If you want an extraordinary job, then do extraordinary things where it's not just a job, but you create this career for yourself. And in some of those offers that I receive, these are people making up roles and titles to bring me on to their team, and we're going to, customize a position. Like, that's extraordinary. And that's the kind of value you want to show these folks, these decision makers, the C-suite, that you're worth their time to invest in you because you're going to repay that, tenfold.
and you're really good at positioning and all the and you understand we're in a market now where there's no longer a willingness to pay for fake value like strategy and talking heads. They want leaders that can drive results, and that comes through the conversation, and I think your direct and authentic style created a magnetism around you where everyone there was a bidding war at the time for you, right?
Oh, no. No, yeah, I turned down several offers. I have 4 with 5 in the works. They were all more than the one that I actually accepted, because I believed in the culture and the team and the impact that I was gonna have here. So it was me kind of taking a back seat and investing in my future career than jumping into these other levels, which I absolutely could have taken, but would not have been as rewarding or fulfilling or would have caused me to have to relocate. I mean, several different factors. Fast forward not even 6 months down the road, now we're revisiting some of those conversations. So I feel like, the decision I made allowed me to potentially have my cake and eat it too.
That's fantastic. And like a lot of people talk about like this hidden job market. What is it? Is it a hidden black market with the job boards? No, it's literally conversations with people and adding value and creating demand because they're hiring you to solve a really big problem, right?
100%. I've done it myself. I mean, recently I exited a person on my management team that wasn't really, fitting the needs of my business. And 3 months before that day happened, I had already sourced his replacement and was waiting, hiding in a different department inside of my own org, right? The forethought to be able to say, hey, I didn't open a rec. I didn't host interviews. I brought, the gentleman in one day and I said, listen, this is how I see things. This is how I want it to happen. Are you on board? Are you willing to ride with me? And he was like, sign me up, coach. I'm not scared. Let's get after it.
Mhm. Absolutely. Well, I think that you just bring a level of intensity that I think people are drawn towards, right? And so, you know, tell me about like obviously you're big on mindset, right? And transformation and how does that play a role for you? And obviously that's what we're aligned on because you bring that energy, that intensity, and that's something you really can't fake, right? You can't fake energy.
No, I mean, I don't think so. I think some people got pretty good at it, right? And then it always comes out in the end, though, right? Those type A,
When the pressure comes, it crumbles, right?
when the pressure comes, it crumbles or they leave, right? I have a great mentor of mine, right, who I found that, this is kind of how they operate, right? They'd stay, the magic lasted for about a year and a half, 2 years, and then they would be off to the next to replicate that. So, no, I think energy and mindset is huge because at the end of the day, I want to work with people who want to be here, right? And I made myself a promise when I was coming up through my career in telecom. I had the benefit, right? Some people would say, "Oh, unfortunate," right? But I had the benefit of working for some managers that I very early on decided, would not be the type of folks that I would want to work for again. And so I took it upon myself to make sure that when I became a leader of people, that I would not be that way, right? And so authenticity, transparency, and marching steadfastly towards, the revenue target is kind of been my brand as a leader, that coach, if you will, right? Partnering with these folks. So I tell my team every day, like, guys, you don't work for me, right? Because this is not my company. I don't own the company. We work together and we're working together towards a goal. You're on my team. Like, I'm going to take care of you. If this is not the right fit for you, then so be it, right? There's other places I can recommend you and refer you over to.
Well, that's fantastic. So I just wanna be real with people right now because everybody's kinda feeling like they're swimming in chaos with this market and always, right? So everyone I talk to, whether it's CEOs or people in the job market or executives, everything's getting disrupted and evolving. So how do you deal with all this constant chaos and being the calm? Because as the executive, they're paying for you to bring certainty to the chaos. How do you keep yourself grounded when you're still kinda moving through these storms?
I take super complex things and I break them up into their simplest forms. So, for example, my leadership team and we have a sit down every single morning called the manager hoe, and we go over the DMR, the daily management report on previous day's activity. I am not a complex creature, right? I'm super simple. If my bubble is green for my division, then I'm happy. If it's red or yellow, I'm not happy. And then we do stuff to fix it. It's that freaking simple. Green means we're on pace to hit a budget or exceeding budget. Yellow means like we're right on the bubble. And red is like, no, it's not working. Right. And at that point, right? I have to tell my team, the team managers that report to me, guys, this is a freaking people business. You understand what I'm saying? Like, these are people that are driving the numbers. We don't drive the numbers despite the people. So focus on the people and the behaviors and getting them locked into our vision. And when you do that, we will win.
That's, I think, the biggest thing you can say, because sometimes as a leader, you get so stressed about pressing for results instead of getting the buy-in and commitment and alignment. Because if everyone's operating in fear, they actually can't perform, right?
Yeah. Or they will despite you. And that's not a culture that I want to perpetuate in my organizations.
It's intense, right? And so you're a highly conscious leader, Dennis. You're very aware of the energy you're putting out. You care about people. You have high EQ, high empathy. Like, you embody what we really want more of in corporate America. And so there's a lot of people out there with toxic bosses that just do the old school hierarchy and power through fear. And how do you keep restraint when you're losing your patience to get the result?
So for fun, right? A hobby of mine is I very much enjoy doing jujitsu, right? So
That's
that's a
awesome.
way. Yeah, that's a way that I clear my head, but it's also a super amazing way to like humble myself, check the ego at the door, and understand that like ego doesn't do anything productive for anybody. And so every day, just like when I step onto the mat, because I could very easily get folded up, by a person 50, 60, 70 pounds lighter than me, right? And it's a nice check, like, holy smokes, right? I'm a larger guy. I'm not super tall, but I'm about 220 pounds and relatively strong. And I've been doing this for about 4 years, and to see that I could get tuned up by a little fella, I mean, shucks, that's pretty, eye opening. And so I take the same step when I step into this arena because getting mad and frustrated and trying to, brute force my way through a problem is not the solution. So I check my ego. Okay, great. How do we work collaboratively to come up with the solution to whatever problem we're facing? And oftentimes it's not even my idea. Just say, man, that's a great idea. Let's take that. Let's implement it. And I want to promote people for making decisions, but not fear the failure side of it. Right. And we'll take an idea like maybe from my service manager. Say, hey, I'd like to do this. Great. I love that. Let's do that and add a little sizzle sauce to it. Right. Let's enhance that. We rolled it out and then we basically came up with to keep things fun, to keep things engaging, to keep the morale and the culture. We came up with a draft for all of our service members, right? All the team members that we have. And my 4 sales guys were team captains, and they had basically a salary cap that they could use to draft the team. It was recorded, posted on social. We did the whole thing. We had the microphones. People were flipping tables over. I mean, it was a spectacle, and it got so much positivity and engagement from the team, that, who would have thought, right, that you're gonna do something like that to drive performance? That just seems weird, right? It seems atypical, but I was like, no, this is outside the box thinking that we need right now to continue getting this engagement, continue winning the hearts and minds. Because you can do it once, but it's not locked in, right? Win the hearts and minds every day of your people and lead by example. So I don't know if I answered your question, but that's my answer.
No, this is solid. And, this is what I'm picking up from you and why I know you're going places, like, seriously, because you understand at this level, relationships is the currency, and that's your influence, that's your pull, and you're very in tune with that. So even now, like, just seeing you're a type of guy that's always looking to serve and help and give back to the community. You're always making time for people. Like, how have you made this relational aspect of your habits, like, just a part of your career and lifestyle and management? And do you think that's part of your strategy, or it's just what you like to do?
So when I got my first big boy role, I just graduated. I just graduated from the university with my marketing degree. I was going to school full time, working part time at Comcast in the call center. Started when I was 17 years old, 18 years old. So I was there for 4 years. Got promoted throughout the call center, working part time to these different roles. My first big boy role, right? My first actual step into like a real career was through networking, through chatting, through the visibility, right? Forging the relationships. Um, a regional manager pulled me to go be an account executive, a retail account executive, serving the Verizon locations. So my job as a Comcast guy was to go into Verizon and teach them and show them how to sell Comcast products and services, right? As you can imagine, when that first started, right, I was looked upon with animosity as somebody who was just wasting their time and shouldn't even be in their store to begin with. I learned very quickly that in order for me to be successful, going from an individual contributor to now not a manager of people, right, working alongside these folks, but I needed them to succeed for me to succeed, that I needed to approach the problem solving in a different way, right? And that was to earn their trust, gain their buy-in. And through doing that, I was able to find like how Comcast products and services impacted their comp plan. And then I was able to then teach back to the district manager, earn the district manager's buy-in. And so now I've had this cascading effect, and I've got this one district manager who is absolutely crushing it. Well, guess what happened? Her peers, right? She was made an example, and her two other peers, because I had three Verizon territories, they wanted in on the action too. So now I created this huge snowball effect. Um, and I mean, I was number one in the entire nation for Comcast at the time, shortly thereafter, without having to manage a single person, but to show, hey, here's the value that I bring. Here's the knowledge that I bring. Here's how I can help coach you. Here's how I can show you how to maximize your payouts and hit your goals and targets and see, your dreams and aspirations come to fruition. And so that period of time like thoroughly resonated with me that I learned. And I guess I took away from it that, man, I don't need to be a boss, right? Sitting in the ivory tower and making decisions when I can be a leader of the people, for the people, amongst the people, standing in the arena with them, shoulder to shoulder.
Well, that's fantastic. You're a real leader of the people and in it with them, and that's kinda how I roll. I'm big on leading from the front. It just you get so much more respect, right? And trust. That's really what you need to move folks, right?
100%.
So I know we're running at the end here, so what advice do you wanna give to anyone that's in transition? We're looking at what they're up against, and they're feeling like, "Alright, do I really wanna enter this market?" What would you but they're sick of being stagnant, kinda like you. What would you tell them?
I would tell them that Thomas Edison didn't fail in making a light bulb 9,999 times. I would say that he found 9,999 ways to not make a light bulb before number 10,000, right? And what I mean by that simply is don't view failure as an ultimate failure and predictor of future outcomes. You need to fail forward and fail fast and continue along your journey because, with fairness, you don't know what's around your next try, your next conversation, that next email that you send or LinkedIn message that you send, the neighbor that you're talking to because you're on a walk with your dog, or the person that was on their laptop that you were casually chatting with sitting at Starbucks. Don't freaking stop
Yeah,
because you just don't know, right?
and
And
it's
if you,
one call to change your life.
one call, one introduction,
And you
right?
were having
Don't
a
stop.
ton of I mean, when you were in the game, you were having a ton of calls.
Ton of call. 100%. Yeah. Candidly, not as many as I should have as prescribed by the program. Like, oh, I will, shame on me, right? But interestingly enough, I found people who knew my capabilities and were all too happy to put me in contact with other folks too. So they were working part time too to continue promoting for me as well.
That's fantastic. Well, Dennis, always a pleasure. Thank you for sharing your journey and looking forward to seeing what's next for you.
Yeah, thanks, Liz. Me too.